Hey guys, it's Kimberlee, and today I'm going to be doing a makeup do's and don'ts video. And before I get started, of course, this is just makeup. If you do it and you don't like it, you can just wipe it right off and no harm, no foul. But at the same time, if there's something that I say is a don't or I say is a do and you do or don't like it on yourself, obviously do what you like and what you don't like, don't do. It's all personal preference. Makeup's supposed to make us feel good and not make us feel bad, but if you're looking for some tips and tricks, I hope that you can find this video helpful. Alright, and so let's get right into it. So I'm going to be doing this half of my face as my do's and this half of my face as my don'ts. And the first thing I'm going to be doing is priming. On my don't side, I'm not going to prime, and on my do side, I am going to prime. A lot of people have skin that reacts great to makeup, and then they don't really need to prime, but if you have big pores or oily skin and you're trying to make it last all day, I think that primer is a good step. So I'm just gonna apply this on the right half of my face. Alright, and then we're going to get right into foundation. For the right side of my face, the do side, I'm going to be doing a foundation that matches me, which is my L'Oreal True Match in W4. And the most important thing with matching your color for your foundation is that it's not so important to match your face as it is important to match your neck, because your neck and your chest is going to be the same color as the rest of your body. And so if you have a really tan body and a really white face and then you match your face, that's not going to work. Or you get it, you want it to match your whole body. And I'm pretty butt white everywhere, so this is the color I'm going to use. I'm just going to put some on the back of my hand and apply it all over my face with my Real Techniques Beauty Sponge.
Another thing that you want to make sure that you are doing is blending it down your neck so that you don't have any harsh lines. Put a little bit on your ear or two. Just making sure everything's really nice and blended and matching your skin. Okay, and then for my dark side of the face, I am going to use a very, very dark foundation. You want your foundation to match your body. And even if you want to be a tan, bronzed goddess, you can do it with bronzer. Don't pick a different foundation because it's going to look like you're wearing a mask. So I'm going to go with this super dark foundation. And instead of using my Real Techniques Beauty Sponge, I'm going to go in with one of these brushes. And I know these work for a lot of people. However, I think you can be really tricky with this, and it's not very easy to blend with, so I'm going to go with one of these flat, like, paintbrush kind of foundation brushes, and this really dark foundation.
And I'm just going to paint that all over this side of my face. And I'm not going to bring any on my neck. Just going to keep it all on my face. And so you can see that doesn't look natural at all. It looks super muddy. And it does not match my neck. It just looks really dark. Okay, so after foundation, we're gonna do concealer. For the do side of my face, well, I'm gonna use this for both sides. It's my Naked Skin Urban Decay Concealer. And you want to be like 1 to 2 shades lighter than your foundation. And that's going to be great on this side, but when I put it on this side, it's going to be like 4 shades lighter. And so just a little bit lighter, and a little bit goes a long way. You don't need a whole ton. Put it on just the high points on my face. And then on this side, I'm going to put a ton on. And I know you see a lot of people doing the triangles, and that's great. And on this side, I'm going to blend it out in that same shape. But a little product goes a long way, and if you paint it on in this triangle, you're going to have to blend it out still, and you're going to end up blending it really far down your face. And since it's like 4 or 5 shades lighter, it's going to be quite the contrast for the rest of your face. So on my do side, I'm just going to go back in with my beauty sponge and buff it all out. And you can see just how natural it is and how it's just blending right in, giving me a little bit of a highlight and concealed situation, but it's nothing crazy. It looks like skin. Now on this side, I'm gonna blend it out. And while this concealer is great and it does still blend out, it's just very overbearing. Also, if you put too much in, it's gonna crease under your eyes because you just have too much product going on. And it's just very different from the dark foundation that we had going on. Okay, and then for powdering, I am going to use my ofra powder, and on the dew side of my face, I'm going to make sure I go in and set my under eyes so that they don't crease and they last all day. Anywhere I put that concealer, I'm going to make sure to hit that first so that we don't crease. And then I'm just going to lightly dust it over everything else. And on my don't side, I'm not going to powder anything. Typically, if you're dry, powder might not be your best friend because it's going to dry you out more. However, even if you are dry, I would probably recommend to still set your under eye because it is going to crease. When you smile and when you make expressions, you're going to have a lot of creasing right underneath your eye. You can already see I'm got some going on right now. So that's what I'm going to do for that. What's next? Okay, so for contouring, on my don't side. So I'm going to take this giant palette here and I'm going to go into this shade, which on camera doesn't look that warm, but in person it's a very warm bronzy kind of a shade, which is great for just adding some warmth to the face. But if you really want to contour, something a little bit cooler will add more of a natural shadow and less of a muddiness. So, and I'm going to go in with my Morphe R2 brush, which is great for bronzing, not for contouring. This is big and just fat and fluffy. And I'm going to pick up a bunch of product and I'm going to go in there. I'm going to keep it really low and blend downward. And you never want to blend downward because that just kind of defeats the purpose, brings your face down, it doesn't chisel anything out. And so I'm just going to do that on this side. And I'm going to bring it on up. And just really put it on thick. So you can see that's really muddy looking and not as nice and clean. For the do side, I am going to go in to my Tarte Clay Play palette, and I'm going to go into this shade right here, which is Terracotta, a much cooler toned shade. And I'm going to go in with my Morphe R10 brush, which is kind of the same shape, just like a squished fluffy brush, but it's much smaller, more precise. I'm going to get that on my brush, tap off the excess, and I'm going to keep it farther back towards my ear, and I'm going to blend up. And that's going to really help create that natural shadow contoured kind of a look. And then that gives it more of like a chiseled, harder contour, and this is just muddy and all over the place. And then for blush is really easy to overdo it, and so on the don't side, I'm going to go in with my Blush and Bronzer mini palette from Coastal Scents, and I'm going to go into this deep, dark, maroony, brick red kind of a shade, which is beautiful. I'm going to go in with this brush, And I'm going to just get a bunch on there. And I'm not going to dab off any of the excess, and I'm going to keep it right on the apples of my cheeks. And you can see that is very clown-like and not blended at all, and even more pigmented than I thought it was going to be. Resist the urge to blend it out, but that is very intense. And if you want a little bit more of a softer look, which, you know, blush is meant to just bring some color back to the face after you put on the foundation and just kind of wiped your face from that. Add a nice flush of color, not bright red. I'm going to go into my Tarte Flower Child palette. Ooh, can't open it. And I'm going to go into a softer shade. I'm probably actually going to mix these two together. This is Trustworthy and Empowering, and those are just a little bit more muted, so they're easier to work with, especially if you're new and you think that that's going to happen to you the first time you try it. And I'm just going to take my Morphe M530 brush, which is a nice just little circle, perfect size for on the cheeks. And I'm going to mix those two colors together, tap off my excess, and I'm actually going to start a little bit farther back and blend it down to the apples of my cheeks, which will keep the concentration of the color a little bit higher and just bring in a soft, flush color to the cheeks, which is really pretty. And as you can see, it brings some color back to the face, makes it look very young and youthful, but it doesn't look like you got punched in the face like it does on this side. And so after that, we'll go in with highlighter. On my don't side, I am going to go in with my e.l.f. Radiance Enhancer. And this is a cream highlight, which, love cream highlights. This is not a bad formula, but the color is so wrong for me. It is, here, I'll show you on the back of my, it is so dark and so pink that you can actually see it's like when the light doesn't hit it, it's like darker than my hand. So you want to have a highlight that's lighter than your skin, because when the light isn't catching it and making it sparkle, you don't want to have like a dark stripe right there. So this is what I'm going to go in on this side with. I'm just going to dab it right there. And I'm going to bring it all the way to the front and all the way to the back, which is also something you want to avoid, because if you have big pores right here, when the light hits it, it's going to just glow and accentuate all of that goodness that you probably don't want accentuated. So, just gonna rub that all over. And yeah, when I'm looking forward and the light's not hitting it, it's like not even there. It's just a dark patch under my eye. So, that's for my don't side. And for my do side, I am going to go in with my Morphe M510 brush and my Jaclyn Hill palette. Although these are eyeshadows, this first shade, I believe it's in the light, makes a great highlight, especially for fair skin. And so I'm going in with this brush, just dab it in there, tap off the excess. And placement's really important besides color for highlight, to keep it right on the high points of the cheek right there, and to not really bring it too far in or too far out, and it just gives it that beautiful pop. So I'm just going to apply that there. You can see how pretty that is. And when I look forward or to the side, you never get that like dark streak look, because it's not darker than my skin. And it's very nice and shiny. So there you have the highlight for both sides. That blush is just driving me crazy. Okay, now on to the eyes. There are a million and one different ways you could do your eyes. There are so many things that you could consider do's or don'ts for your eyes, and so I'm just going to go over some very small things, because we would be here forever. That could be its own video. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be using my Jaclyn Hill palette, my favorite. And on my do side, I'm going to be doing, laying down a transition shade first with a nice fluffy brush. So I'm gonna go in with this shade right here, and it's not like a crazy like dark shade or anything, but to lay down a transition shade or a few definitely makes the blending process a lot easier for when you go in with color. So I'm going to do that shade. I'm going to do the one next to it. The darker the colors are, the lower I keep them on the eye, the more in the crease. The lighter they are, the higher up towards the brow bone I will go. So as I get darker, just keeping it a little bit more in the crease and really blending a lot as I go. And let's see. And I'm going to go in with this yellowy kind of a color. So as you can see, I already have 3 different shades down on this eye, just as kind of blending colors as a base for what we're going to do when we go in with some color. And on this eye, I've done absolutely nothing. So when I go to my don't side, I'm going to hop right into color. I'm going to do this brick red color. I'm just going to dab it on my brush. A 10, which these shadows are so pigmented. You can see right there. Probably don't need that much. I'm not going to tap it off. Tapping it off is great because you could go in, you could think you don't have a lot of on your brush, and you do. So I'm just going to go straight in with the color and no transition shades. And I'm just going to put that in the crease. And just go back a few times. Blending is so important when it comes to eyeshadow, because if you just leave it like this, which is fine, I'm sure some people are going to like this side more than the other side, it's much more harsh, and without putting those transition tones underneath, it doesn't have any dimension to it. It's very flat and harsh. But on this side, I'm going to go back into that same color that we just used, this brick red kind of a shade right here. I'm going to dab into it just a little bit and tap it off, and I'm going to build it up. But this side will have a lot more dimension to it. I'm just going to start in the outer corner and then work my way into the crease. And you can see how much more dimension there is in this side than in this side. This is very just straight one color, and this is like a nice gradient. It makes it a lot easier to blend out. Then I'll go in with just a little bit more. And then I will take a new brush. This is my Crease and Contour 29 brush. Doesn't say anything else on it. I don't really know. And I will just dab maybe a little bit more of my transition shade and maybe this yellow, because that's a really pretty color. And I will just go and blend this out even more, this dark shade over here. And so you can see this eye is nice and blown out, and this eye is very harsh around the edges right there. This one's a lot more soft. And then I'm going to just go in and highlight my brow bone. Take a little teeny tiny brush, and I'm going to go in with and light. And just hit it. Mainly where it arches right there, and then just kind of blend it out. And the other one, I'm gonna take it all the way in and over. One of the reasons you wouldn't want to bring it so far in is because this is a part of your eye that naturally sinks in where the bone is, and so it kind of creates a shadow. By adding that highlight, you're kind of taking away the shadow, and it could make your eye shape look kind of strange. So you would not want to do that. And for the center of the lid, I am going to go in with this pink shade right here. And it's like a coppery, red copper though, kind of a color. I'm going to go in on my Luxie 211 brush And on this side, I'm just going to, my don't side, I'm just going to pat it all over the lid. This is a very close, it's just basically a shimmery version of the brick red that we had put on before. It's just like a foiled version of that. And so adding just this color makes it look like just a big red blob on this eye, and I'm going to add it to the other side. But on this side, I'm going to also take a little bit of, so we took that one before, and now I'm going to take a little bit of this one, a much lighter pink on my brush. And I'm just going to pop that right in the center. Center of the eyeball. Even use my finger a little bit. And you can see how much more dimension that gives it. This is just really one color because I got the red on my eyes, the red on my cheeks. And this side just has a lot more dimension. It looks a lot more, well, as natural as dark colors could get. Nice and blown out and blended, and that's definitely something we are going for. And then mascara. I'm going to use my Voluminous Lash Paradise mascara. And for this, just make sure it's not clumpy. This one I don't really have too much of an issue with it being clumpy, and that's why I like this mascara. Some people like the clumpy look, no problem, but it's not for me. And then I'm just gonna try and make this one clumpy on the other side, but oh, like when you take it out and then it's got that like lump of, you see that little point on the end? Just use that. Yeah, I wouldn't do that, but I'm gonna do that on this side. Just go straight in. And so you can see that one's a lot more clumpy and this one's a lot more fanned out. Nice and separated, which is what I'm always going for. And then for the eyebrows, I have very full eyebrows, so I don't necessarily need to do a lot with them. I will go in with my Anastasia Beverly Hills, and I will just kind of anywhere that I feel like it's a little bit sparse, just kind of fill it in little flicking motions to mimic hairs so that it looks very natural. And that's usually all I really do. And then I will go in with my Anastasia Beverly Hills Tinted Brow Gel, and I will sit them so they don't move because I got lots of eyebrow hairs. And then on the other side, I would recommend to not just draw straight lines instead of flicking motions. So, like that. Also, the front of your brow, you should keep pretty light because that's natural and not blocky like this. So I'm just totally filling it in instead of flicking it. And this obviously makes it very dark for my face. And if you take the tip, you don't want to go too long with your tips because it kind of brings your eyes down. You can see mine stops above the tip of my eye, and then this one I brought down far, and it just looks very sad. So yeah, you just want to kind of keep it light and not heavy. And then put even more of this product on. Yes. So, as you can see, very different. Light and fluffy, dark and heavy. I like this side. That's me. And then for the lips, what I'm going to do is going to be very color-based. So, it's fall time, so neither shade's going to be super, super light, but on my do side of the face, since we did go in with dark eyes, I'm going to be doing a Pasadena by Ofra Long Wearing Liquid Lipstick, and it's not that light of a shade, but it's not super dark either. And so, you know, fall is genuinely a time where you can wear deeper, darker shades, deeper, darker combinations, and it's not so big of a deal. However, it's kind of average darkness since we had a dark eye. This side, I'm going to go in with this bright fuchsia kind of color, but it's like a dark fuchsia, and this is the Stila Stay All Day Liquid Lipstick in the color Baka? This color? I think it's Bokeh. And I wouldn't necessarily do this with this eye and this cheek because you're kind of just using the same color on everything. And that doesn't necessarily look that great. It's nice to match, but maybe this is a little too matchy-matchy. So I'm going to go with my light color first because I don't want to get it on the dark color. And just go over my lips. Just like a darker nude. That's really, really pretty. And then I'm going to go in with my other shade. All right. And the last thing I'm going to do is setting spray. On my don't side of the face, I'm not going to use setting spray, which can make it look very powdery and just fake. And on my, as if this was gonna look real if I sprayed it. And on this side of my face, I'm going to spray it because it just kind of helps to take all of that powder makeup and the liquid foundation and melt it together, melt it into your skin, and it just looks very much like true skin. It makes it all the difference. So I'm just going to take my palette, cover this half of my face so I don't spray it, and it just makes it a lot dewier, a lot fresher, and nicer looking. And so here you have it. I have my full face of do's and my face of don'ts. Yeah, so all together, makeup is makeup. And whatever you decide you like on your face, of course you do it. I only know about all of these don'ts because I've done them all. I've done them multiple times, thought they looked great on me, and now I like this better. So I hope you learned something from this video and you can take something away from it. If you were to take something away from it, I hope that it's having a heavy hand could make a big difference. Just using a little bit of a lighter wash of color can really improve your makeup or color choice and not to match everything on your face. So yeah, I hope you really enjoyed this video. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Cosmo_Kimberlee, and I hope you guys stick around and watch my next one. Thanks. Bye.